complaining. But more importantly, we're going to look at how one tiny mental switch can help you flip that habit on its head and unlock the courage to actually get things done.
So let me ask you something right off the bat. When things go wrong, what's your gut reaction? Do you immediately point out what's broken, or do you start looking for a way to fix it? It's a choice we're all making all the time, even if we don't realize it.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll break down this whole complaint trap. Then, we'll get into what it's actually doing to your brain. Yep, there's science here. We'll look at the choice it forces you to make, and stick around, because at the end, we've got some powerful, practical ways to shift your mindset.
First things first, let's get really clear on what we mean by complaining. Because, not all of it is bad, but there's a very specific kind, and it's seriously destructive.
See, we're not talking about giving useful feedback to solve a problem. We're talking about that treadmill of venting that just keeps you stuck in place. It's when we use our problems, the traffic, our job, you name it, as the perfect excuse to do nothing at all.
And the source material for this explainer doesn't pull any punches. It calls this habit a cultural poison. It's this thing we feel we have a right to do, but when it's not aimed at a solution, it just ends up paralyzing us.
So what's really going on inside our heads when we get caught in a complaint loop? This isn't just about having a bad attitude. Nope, this is about biology. Let's take a look at the actual neurology of being stuck.
Okay, think of your brain like a muscle. Every single time you complain just for the sake of it, you're doing a rap that strengthens the neural pathways to your brain's alarm center. You are literally training your brain to be better at stressing out.
But, and this is the amazing part, the moment you switch into problem-solving mode, you light up a totally different part of your brain. The part in charge of planning, creativity, and taking action. So every day, you're choosing which brain muscle to train, the stress muscle or the solutions muscle.
And this brings us to a really fundamental choice. Because according to the source, you cannot have a habit of complaining and have courage at the same time. They can't exist in the same headspace.
I mean, just look at this breakdown. It's so clear, right? They are total opposites. One focuses on the problem, the other on the solution. One leads to feeling stuck, the other creates a path forward. Think about it. People with real courage, they don't complain much, do they? And people who complain all the time, well, they rarely step up. They're mutually exclusive.
And this quote just hits so hard. It really gets to the long-term cost of this habit. When we keep choosing complaint over courage, we don't just stay in one place. The sea literally vanishes, and what's left is servitude. We become prisoners to our own habits, our own fears, our own circumstances.
Okay, but here's the good news. Shifting from that state of complaint to a state of action doesn't require some massive life overhaul. It can literally start with changing one single word. It's like a little trick you can play on your brain to get it to switch tracks.
It's called the but technique, and it's so simple. You just state the complaint, but then you force yourself to add the word but. The traffic is terrible, but your brain can't just leave it there. It's forced to go looking for a solution or a silver lining, which instantly shifts you from venting to problem solving.
And let me be really clear, this is not just some feel-good, positive thinking hack. This causes a real physical shift in your brain. Brain scans show that the moment you introduce that but, activity moves from the stress center to the action center. You are literally, neurologically, moving from threat mode into challenge mode.
So rewiring your own brain is huge, but let's be honest, it's way, way easier to do if the people around you aren't pulling you back into old habits. Your environment, your circle, it matters more than you think.
So why this number? What's so special about 5? Well, there's a really powerful idea that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Their habits, their energy, their way of thinking, it all rubs off on you.
So if you feel like you're stuck in a complaining rut, take a hard, honest look at your circle. Do they see problems or possibilities? Do they drain you or do they inspire you? Your social circle is either a current that's pulling you down into that swamp of inaction, or it's the wind at your back, lifting you up.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that courage isn't always about some grand, heroic act. Most of the time, it's a small, quiet choice. It's the choice to stop just pointing at a problem and to start solving it. It begins the moment you decide to trade a complaint for a plan. So the real question is, what's one complaint you're going to turn into an action today?